Well, good morning, Dr. Dorsey.
Good morning, Bill.
We are discussing today, well, we're really getting ready for spring. Actually, yesterday was St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
And everybody's ready for spring. And so, as part of spring, we're going to be focused on is housing coming back, and if so, when? And is it going to lead or lag, or where's it going to be? So talk to us.
Well, all the flowers coming up, you know.
Well, we're ready.
And so the housing market seems to be coming back. We reported our price index for January this week, and this is the 11th consecutive month of price increases.
Wow.
So we've actually had some good numbers.
Now, we talked about going long on things. Previously, we talked about when the market was going down, going long alcohol. Some folks yesterday I saw were absolutely long alcohol.
Yeah, there were quite a few. I was in Washington, D.C. yesterday, and it started early, it went long.
So let's talk a little bit. Our viewers may not be familiar with, or they may have just a talking knowledge about some of these indexes. There are repeat sales indexes, there are hedonic indexes, there are indexes that measure average sales price, all sorts of things.
All sorts of different ways of measuring.
What do we measure, and what is our, it's obviously shown they're up 11 straight. Right? But so what does our index actually measure?
Well, I mean, most of the indexes are based upon the repeat sales. You take a house in the current period, look at what it sold for the last time it sold, assuming that nothing else has changed. The difference in price would be sort of the measure of how much price is
on an annualized basis. Right. Or quarterly basis, however you do it.
Yeah, and we do it a little bit differently. We look at all of the houses, whether they sold or not.
Sales or refinancings have been appraised.
Exactly, and then we build the index off of that, so it's a little bit more stable than the repeat sales index. It's a little bit, you can do a little bit more refined type of analysis.
There's this caveat in the literature that says there's some appraisal bias, but you look at correlation between appraised value and sales price.
Virtually identical. And so
imagine that.
If we look at 100 MSAs, that's a very broad case, okay, most of the country, we're seeing about a 0.3% increase from December into January, but from a year ago, we're seeing 5.7% increase.
So it's going up, it's going up at a slower rate, but still going up.
Right. And the 10 MSA group, the one that we identify, which are some of the major metropolitan areas, it went up about 0.8% month over month.
That's about 10% annualized.
And about 7.2% from a year ago.
That's good.
In fact, in the Wall Street Journal this morning, there was an article
about... You read that? I thought you were a New York Times guy.
I am. And in the Wall Street Journal this morning, they were starting to speculate, are we in another housing bubble? And...
Wait. Slow down a minute, all right? Let's talk about, people talk about the percentage changes and that sort of thing. When you go from way up high to way down low, you can have a big percentage change, but you're still not back to where you were.
No, in fact, we're about 27.5% below, on average, where we were in January of 2007.
So I still am taking a haircut on my house, right?
A big one, on average.
But if I'm not a buyer or seller, it's irrelevant probably, right? Unless I want to finance to get some money out, refinance.
Well, speaking of equity,
let's talk about that.
Equity is up about $500 billion in the fourth quarter. Overall equity.
So my guess is our bank clients are going to soon be ramping up their home equity programs to help these homeowners pull some of that cash. Exactly.
It's up $1.7 trillion from a year ago.
Well, that sounds like a lot of asset base of which they can lend on.
Right, exactly. So the things are improving. Things are getting up. However, there's always another side.
Oh, no, don't tell me we got the economist black cloud coming out.
Well, the realtors are all sort of wringing their hands and saying, oh my gosh, listings.
It's the appraisers, isn't it? It's the appraisers keeping the values down?
Yeah, they say that too. But right now, the problem is that the listings are down.
People don't want to sell their house?
I don't know.
They don't want a haircut.
Yeah, the
27.5%, they don't want to take that.
Well, some don't.
Some
people need to, but I mean, the listings are down. Actually, the supply of houses is down. The foreclosures are down. You know, and if foreclosures are down significantly, in non-judicial states. In judicial states, they're lagging, you know, they're still up a bit.
Sounds like all the bad things are down, which is good,
Right.
and all the good things are going up, which is good.
Right. One thing that we watch is the ratio of listing price to actually sales price. So in
That's
other
a good
words,
ratio.
how has that changing over time? And a year ago, that ratio was 90.3.
Okay.
So they were dropping, you had to drop on average the price about 9.7%. Okay. Currently, in January, it was 93.5.
Oh, so the markets are tightening.
Tightening up, the prices are coming up, and the difference between, so that discount is only about 6.5%. So that's
good.
improving. As a percent of total sales, foreclosures have been going down too. A year ago, it was 26.9% of all sales were foreclosure. Now it's down to 20.2%. So all of those indications are real positive. Things are looking up. We have some forecasts on new home construction that's coming out on Thursday, I think, the actual numbers, but the forecasts are way up. Everybody's thinking things are happening.
Well, now on this program, you stated previously that the housing market would be cured when the employment problem was cured. So let's talk a little about that.
Well, employment was definitely getting better.
Okay.
And it continues to get better. The number of new jobs is getting better. The big concern that we talked about last week was the sequestration, as they call it, and the decrease in government spending. Government spending, I mean, you see a lot in the media about decrease in government spending, but government spending has been going down significantly for the last several years. And
In total,
yeah. And so that's been a real drag on the economy, and we thought that had pretty much bottomed out and things were going to start picking back up, but with the sequestration, that's going to now pull that down. You're not going to see the effects of that immediately, but it's going to start happening. Already things are starting to occur because of that.
well, we're talking about the housing market, and we're focused on the recovery. It looks like spring is just around the corner. It feels that way in the housing market too, that spring is just around the corner.
Yeah, I mean, all indications are that the housing market is starting to come back, and as we know, housing market tends to lead the rest of the economy. And so if that really is starting to come back, and if the sequestration doesn't have too big of an impact, then we should see a really good spring. I mean, things should start turning.
Followed by a good summer?
Well, the only couple of issues.
Uh-oh.
One,
Great climb.
interest rates are starting to creep back up. Mortgage rates are coming back up. Last one I saw last week was 3.63%, with about 0.7 of a basis point, and that was the average for a 30-year. The 10-year bond is coming back up, creeping back up. It's been below 2% now. Last week it was just up over 2%. So, I mean, there is some demand for money, and that's going to drive the rates up a little bit.
The Cyprus bank issue and the all of a sudden fear in European banking this morning, how does that affect us?
Yeah, I don't know how that Cyprus bank thing is going to, I mean, now, did you have a lot of money in Cyprus?
No.
Well, Cyprus is a money haven. It's where people have hide their money, and a lot of Russian big money folks who maybe got their money in an inappropriate manner have it in Cyprus, and so
They may not be there anymore.
well, they had to all take a big haircut. They basically said, "Well, we're just taking away a bunch of your money," and that's across the board. So that wasn't good.
Well, so that fear, if it expands to overall Europe, the discussion this morning is in the financial press, if it expands to overall Europe and the European Union, how will that impact us?
I mean,
It'll be a flight to safety.
It'll be a flight to safety.
Treasuries
Money
will go
come
up.
into the interest rate will go down again.
Right, that'll be good.
Everybody will refinance again. I mean, there were a lot of refinances last year.
Right.
It was a big market. There were over 1 million HARP refinances last year.
Awesome.
And so It was a big market. So all we can say is it's looking positive right now.
This is FNC's Morning View. I'm Bill Rayburn with Bob Dorsey. You all have a fantastic week.